Welcome to the Houston Roundball Review Takeover on the lunch break, powered by JM&E and also the BS3 Network. Watch this show on YouTube, Twitch, Musk, Fire TV, and Roku, courtesy of BS3 TV. If you have a Roku streaming device, just download BS3 TV. If not, you can go to bs3network.com or bs3tvlive.com. I am KG Kris Gardner, owner of the Houston Roundball Review. Thank you for joining me during your lunch break here on the lunch break. Throwback Thursday, also known as the Houston Roundball Review Takeover, powered by JM&E. If you missed it, if you were not in the place Wednesday night, not in the building known as Fertitta Center, the Houston Cougars, led by head coach Ron Huey, so women's basketball, got the first Big 12 conference win over other Cougars, the BYU Cougars, 79-69. Cougs found a way to win. Well, gotta be specific. Houston found a way to win, jumped out to an early 21-6 lead. BYU scored 14 in a row to cut Houston lead 21-20. Cougs led at halftime. BYU got as close as 4 in the second half, but Brittany Anije for Houston made some clutch threes, and Houston earned the 10-point win for their first Big 12 conference victory to improve to 1-3 in Big 12 play. Coach Huey, very elated, was high-fiving fans and hugging folks after the game to get that first win in Big 12 play. So congrats to him. And what did it do for them in the net, you may ask? Well, not much. Not much of a change. Net rankings for Big 12 women's basketball. And let me say this. Wednesday night in Big 12 women's hoops action. All 14 teams played 7 games. Home team won all 7 games. Life on the road in good conferences is tough. When you win a road game in a conference, be happy, be thrilled, and move on. be relieved you got the dub. But yes, 14 teams, 7 games, Wednesday night in Big 12 women's basketball. The home team won all 7 games, including a huge, huge upset of Kansas in women's basketball. They beat Baylor, was 4th ranked. Kansas won 87-66 over the formerly unbeaten Baylor Lady Bears. 87-66. So KU women won, unlike the KU men who lost on the road in Orlando to UCF, 65-60. UCF, a former member in the AAC, a former member in the American Athletic Conference. I'm going to be petty because KU fans are petty. Tuesday night, Iowa State men's hoops beat the Houston Cougars by 4, 57-53. IU jumped out to a 14-0 lead because the Cougars were tossing the ball all over the court to Cyclone players. Cougs had like 8 turnovers in the first 10 minutes of the game. Struggled mightily. KU fans on the platforms, see, I told you Houston was ready for this kind of competition. They're not ready for Big 12 basketball. Then they were silent when the Cougs came back and took a 1-point lead. Iowa State came back and won by 4. See, I told you they weren't good. They weren't good enough. Even though now Houston is not a member of the Big 12, so why are you taking shots at your own member schools? But then Wednesday night, KU men's basketball goes on the road and loses to UCF by 5, 65-60. You know, UCF, they used to be in the American too, just like the Houston Cougars. So what does that say about the Jayhawks and Jayhawk fans? Maybe you need to be quiet. Keep up with your own team. Karma, as my man Galen Robinson Jr. said, put it on Musk. Karma. But back to it. We're going to talk Rockets in these few minutes here on the Houston Roundball Review Takeover. Rockets lost in overtime to the Bulls, 124-119. Rockets are 18-18. 18-18. 13 of those 18 losses, the opponent has scored 120 or more. 13 of those 18 losses. The other 5, I think the opponent scored like 107, 106, 116, and 105. So the magic number for the Rockets in the NBA this season, apparently, is if teams can score 120 or more, the Rockets are going to lose. Dylan Brooks didn't play. Tari Eason didn't play. Tari Eason, well, it's a long absence for a lower leg injury that they won't give any more specific details about. But Dylan Brooks is getting closer to returning from his oblique strain. But Bulls scored 124. Rockets had a 5-point lead with like less than 3 minutes left in overtime. And the Bulls scored the next 10 points. So the Rockets are now 18-18. They'll get back above 500 Friday when they face the woeful, awful, crappy, I'd use other words, but I won't here on this platform, to describe the Detroit Pistons. Not Detroit Pistons, Detroit Pistons, because they played no defense. No D whatsoever. The Detroit Pistons, they're starting to give up 130 now on the regular. The Rockets will score probably 130 tomorrow, Friday, to beat the Detroit Pistons, and then continue their road trip on Saturday in Boston against the Celtics, when it'd be a much more competitive game against a better opponent. But Friday, the Detroit Pistons are the get-right team for teams this season in the NBA. Detroit has only won 3 games this season. They snapped the losing streak at 28. I think they've lost like 5 in a row since then. I don't even know. I'm still a fan, but because their defense, they don't play it, it just hurts my heart. I'm a defensive guy, defense to the core. And to see this team, they cannot stop me right now, my 51-year-old self, from scoring a bucket. It's embarrassing how pathetic they are on defense. It is truly embarrassing how bad they are defensively. I guess pride is left because they don't even have that anymore on defense. It's just really, to see a professional team be so awful on defense, it's a shame. Well, you are watching the Houston Roundball Review Takeover, powered by JM&E, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Fire TV, Twitch, Musk, and of course on Roku via the BS3 network. But yes, the Coogs men's team lost Tuesday on the road, 57-53 in Ames, Iowa, to the Iowa State Cyclones. Coogs now 14-1 overall, 1-1 in Big 12 play. Next game will be this Saturday in Fort Worth at TCU, 5 o'clock Central. Mr. Willie Gibson on ESPN. Not sure how many fans are going to watch that game because the Texans are playing in the playoffs against the Browns, and that game kicks off at 3:30. But regardless, the Cougs at TCU this Saturday, 5 o'clock on ESPN. Earlier Saturday, Houston women will host TCU at 2 p.m. inside Fertitta Center. That game can be seen on Big 12 Now on ESPN+. So the men are 14-1, 1-1 in conference. The women are 10-5, and now 1-3 in Big 12 play. If you're wondering, boy, man, UH men lost. They lost that game on the road in the Big 12. How does it impact them in the net? Where are they in the net? the NCAA evaluation tool rankings. I'm sure they're no longer number one. Boy, that's a tough loss. Real tough loss. Not so fast. Through last night, through January 10th, the Houston Cougars are still number one in the net rankings. Still number one in the net rankings. BYU, even though they've lost 2 straight games in conference play, are 4th in the net. Iowa State, 10. Baylor, 14. Baylor's 2-0 in conference play. Kansas, after their road loss at UCF, is now 16 in the net. Oklahoma, 23. Texas Tech, 31. Cincinnati, 32. TCU, who the Cougs face this Saturday, 36. The Burnt Orange People, 45. K-State, also undefeated, 2-0 in conference play, is 74. UCF, fresh off their win over Kansas, their home win over Kansas, is now 76 in the net. And then the last 2 teams, it's getting harder and harder to see them in the net now. I have to get a telescope to see them. Oklahoma State, 124, and West Virginia, 193. This weekend, this Saturday, full slate of action for men's basketball as well as women's basketball in the Big 12, starting with Oklahoma at KU. Somebody's going to be 1-2 in conference play after that game. Both teams are 13-2 overall. Both teams are 1-1 in the Big 12. That game, 1 o'clock, Big 12 Now, ESPN Plus. Second, BYU at UCF. BYU trying to get their first Big 12 conference win, like UCF did Wednesday night over KU. BYU 12-3 overall, 0-2 in Big 12. UCF 10-4 overall, 1-1 Big 12. Tony M, how are you doing? He's adding that, not Montana. Salute to you, sir. Thank you very much. Salute. BYU at UCF, also Big 12 Now, ESPN Plus. K-State at Texas Tech. Who would have thought this? After 2 conference games, that K-State and Texas Tech would both be 2-0 and would be 2 of the 3 unbeaten teams in the Big 12 play. But they are. That game will be on ESPN2. Next, 14-1 Houston, 1-1 in conference at TCU. The Horned Frogs, 12-3 overall, 1-1 in conference. So somebody at that game, after that matchup, will be 1-2 in Big 12 play. Tips off at 5 o'clock on ESPN. Tony M, the Burnt Orange People, who are 1-1 in Big 12, go to West Virginia. See if the Mountaineers can get their first conference win. Mountaineers are 5-10 overall, 0-2 in conference play. Games at 5 o'clock on Big 12 Now on ESPN Plus. Oklahoma State, boy, they're struggling. Coach Boynton lost in overtime to Baylor last Saturday, then lost by a good margin against Texas Tech on the road on Tuesday this week. 0-7 in conference play, 8-7 overall at Iowa State. Iowa State coming off their win over Houston. Cyclones 12-3 overall, 1-1 in Big 12. 7 o'clock tip-off, ESPN2. Last but not least, Cincinnati, off a 1-point loss on Tuesday. They're 12-3 overall, 1-1 in Big 12 at Baylor in Waco in the new facility. Baylor Bears, the 3rd unbeaten team in conference play at 13-2 overall, 2-0 in Big 12. 7 o'clock on ESPN. Tony M, who you got? Make your predictions about that Coogs TCU game. Coach Sampson had his weekly press conference a few minutes ago before my show here, before the takeover. As usual, as is customary, I try to ask Coach his thoughts on the opponent for the Cougars. My other colleagues ask about the Cougars, obviously. But it's part of who I am and part of what I'm really known for now, the coach knows me for, is the opponent. But TCU is long and athletic, well coached by Coach Dixon. probably have the starting front court is 6'8", 6'7", 6'11". So the length will be an issue. The Cougs will be fine as long as they don't turn the ball over, especially live ball turnovers. I think Tuesday's loss, Iowa State outscored Houston 21-6 in points off turnovers. Cougs had 12 turnovers in the first half, 8 in the first 10 minutes, 4 in roughly the last 3 minutes and change. In between those turnovers, they shot the ball better. They actually scored points. It's amazing what you can do when you don't give the ball away. It's amazing what you can do when you don't have live ball turnovers. A live ball turnover is basically guaranteeing 2 points for your opponent. Because, as Coach said today, there is no defense for a live ball turnover. You throw the ball away at half court, the opponent gets it, dribble down, get a layup or a dunk. If you toss the ball out of bounds, at least you give yourself a chance to reset your defense when the team inbounds the ball after a dead ball turnover. Coogs did not do a lot of that in the first half in their loss at Iowa State. Jamal Shead had 5 turnovers. His season high, 5 turnovers at Iowa State. LJ Cryer had 3 turnovers. The starting backcourt for the Cougs had 8 of the team's 16 turnovers. They cut down turnovers. They'll have a great chance to win on the road this Saturday at TCU. If they have more turnover problems, then they could come back home 0-2 in conference play. The sky won't be falling if that happens, but they'll have to play better and just play Houston Cougar basketball. Tony, would you agree? A lot of their turnovers on Tuesday were uncharacteristic. It wasn't like them. It was, some of those turnovers were just, who is this team in black? Who is this team wearing Houston across their chest? They stopped doing that. Got back in the game thanks to Emmanuel Sharp, hitting 3-pointers, key buckets. Got back in the game, even though LJ Cryer had his worst shooting game this season. The Cougs still had a chance to win that game. They were up 52-51 with like 2 minutes to go. The game was tied in the last minute. This team is still a good team. And of course, obviously, they're better when they're not turning over the basketball. Cut down the turnovers. I think I can say this here because we're no longer on the radio station of KYK. Coach said in Coach Sampson language after the loss about the turnovers, about the uncharacteristic nature of those turnovers, many of them. His team, quote, we just kind of peed down our leg in that first half. You heard it, peed down our leg. It's like the Iowa State's defense caused bladder release for some of the players in that first half. But they still gave themselves a chance to come back and have a chance to win that game on the road. Defense carries. The Cougs defense will keep them in games throughout this season. It's part of the culture. Turning all over 16 times is not part of the culture. But Tony M with that crying emoji, it's all good. They'll be okay. I would not be surprised if Houston loses between a total of 5 and 7 games in Big 12 this season and still make noise in the NCAA tournament. The Big 12 is that good. It is that good. Tony, are you celebrating the fact that the Houston Cougars women's team got the first Big 12 win Wednesday? Because they did. 79-69 over BYU. Layla Blair scored 20, game high 20 points. Cameron Jones had a career high 8 steals. 8. The team had 13 steals. Cam had 8. They forced BYU into, I think, 21 turnovers, and the Cougs won that edge 25 to like 9, something like that, in points off turnovers. So the Houston Cougars on the right track, the win column in the Big 12. Get to them who they're going to face as we get to the Big 12 women's schedule for this weekend. As I said last night, Wednesday night, the home team won every game in Big 12 play on January 10th. So this Saturday, all 14 teams in action. Home teams, let's see where they are. First up, West Virginia was ranked top 25. Was 2-0 in Big 12. Was 13-0. Now they're 13-2 because they lost the last 2 games in Big 12 play. They go on the road to Orlando. UCF is 0-4 in Big 12 play. So that'll be interesting to see if UCF can get a win at home and continue the Mountaineers' losing streak. Baylor, 14-1, coming off their blowout loss Wednesday night at Kansas, will be at Iowa State. Iowa State is one of the youngest teams in women's college basketball. They're 4-0 in Big 12 play. One of the surprise teams in the conference at 4-0 in conference play. They host Baylor. 12 o'clock, Big 12 now on ESPN+. Texas, 16-1. Their one loss was at home to Baylor, roughly a few days after point guard Rory Harmon was lost for the season with a torn ACL. But in spite of her season-ending injury, the Longhorns have won 3 in a row. Fresh Madison Booker, has moved over to the point guard duties, even though she's a forward by nature, but she's running the offense and doing a solid job of it. They're at K-State. K-State also undefeated in Big 12 play at 4-0. Ayoka Lee, one of the best centers in all of women's college basketball. 1 o'clock, that game's on ESPNU. Texas Tech, 2-2 in conference, one of those 2 wins over Houston. They're at Oklahoma. Sooners, 9-6 overall, but 3-1 in conference play. Game tips off 2 o'clock on Big 12 Now, ESPN+. The game the Houston area fans care about, Cougar fans care about, the alums. TCU, 14-3. All 3 losses have come in Big 12 play. They'll be here in Houston. The Cougars are 10-5, and also 1-3. TCU will be without their best player, Sedona Prince, big post player. She's still dealing with her hand injury and will be out, as far as I know, a few more weeks. That game tips off 2 o'clock. Big 12 Now on ESPN+. But I'll be in the building watching the game in person. So feel free to join me at Fertitta on Saturday afternoon. I will be there. A battle of newcomers to the conference. Cincinnati, 9-6, 1-3. Their one win came Wednesday night over UCF, 1-point victory for the Bearcats. They're going to Utah to face BYU. BYU is going to try to get their first win in conference play. They're 0-4. 5 o'clock on Big 12 Now, ESPN+. Last but not least, Oklahoma State, the Cowgirls, 3-1 in conference play. On the road to Kansas. We'll see if Kansas can make it 2 straight wins after their blowout 87-66 win over Baylor Wednesday. That game, 6:30 p.m. on Big 12 Now on ESPN+. The net rankings for the women's teams in Big 12. Texas, number 2. K-State, number 8. Baylor, despite the blowout loss to KU, is 9. West Virginia, 27. TCU, 33. Iowa State, 40. Kansas, with their impressive win over Baylor, it's up to 46. Oklahoma State, 56. Texas Tech, 57. Oklahoma, 61. And then, rounded it out, the 4 newcomers. UCF, 95. Houston, 100. Cincinnati, 102. And BYU, 0-4 in conference play, is 103. This edition of the Houston Roundball Review Takeover, of course, powered by JM&E. Looking for advertisers for the show. If you're willing to advertise, if you are interested in advertising, simply contact me, email me at kgardner@thehrr.com. And remember, this show streams live on Roku. That's another audience to reach. So it's Roku, Musk, Fire TV, Facebook, and of course on YouTube. So different ways to reach your audience as an advertiser on the Houston Roundball Review Takeover. Thrillo, how are you doing? Going to talk some TSU basketball. Both the men's and women's teams picked up their first dubs this past Monday. TSU won at Grambling. Both teams won at Grambling. The men won by 2, 54-52. Ladies won by 5. Ladies had a 4-player score in double figures. TSU men, Zaire Harvey scored, a career high, no, a season high, 16 points for him. Zaire Henry, excuse me. Zaire Hayes. Let me get these names from him. Zaire Hayes scored 16 points for TSU in their 2-point win. So it's good to see them get their first SWAC win to improve. It's not really worried about the overall record, the 3-10 overall. TSU ladies got their first win in SWAC play. They'll be in town inside the H&P Arena this Saturday and Monday. First up, Pine Bluff. Ladies first at 3 o'clock. The men afterwards, roughly, I'd say 20 minutes after the conclusion of the women's game. So between 5 and 5:30. And then on Monday, Mississippi Valley, Thrillo. Thrillo. Throwley. Yep. That's why that's why PJ's name was in my head, because TSU won without PJ Henry. So yes, that's why Henry was in my head there. So thank you for that, Thrillo. So at minimum, both teams, TSU teams should beat Valley on Monday without question. Pine Bluff on Saturday for the ladies. Pine Bluff is one of the best teams in the SWAC, women's teams in the SWAC. No question. So that'll be a tougher challenge. But if you are not inclined to watch the Texans game on TV or in person at the stadium, head on over to the H&P Arena to watch TSU in action on Saturday against Pine Bluff. Or if you want to be at Fertitta watching TCU against Houston in women's hoops at 2 o'clock. But there you go right there. TSU, both men's and women's teams won on Monday at Grambling, men by 2, ladies by 5. Rice, an update with Rice. Last Thursday, I touched on it, mentioned it, that there was water damage inside Tudor Fieldhouse. The damage was not as extensive as initially feared. It's been taken care of. The patches of the court have been repaired, so much so that the Rice women, their game tonight, Thursday night, hosting Charlotte, will take place at Tudor Fieldhouse. Tip is at 7 o'clock. That game will be on the American channel on ESPN+. Rice then will host on Sunday a game on ESPNU against South Florida. Game's at 12 o'clock. Rice women are undefeated in the American, 2-0. Won at SMU on Sunday with a buzzer beater by point guard Destiny Jackson. It was a heck of a reverse layup she made. Ball bounced high off the rim and fell through the net for the final points of the game as the buzzer sounded. So Coach Lindsey Edmonds, Rice Owls, 8-5 overall, 2-0 in conference play. The Rice men, tough loss. Home loss UTSA in overtime, 89-72. At USF tomorrow, Friday. Games can be seen on ESPNU, 6 o'clock. Rice Owls trying to get their first conference win in men's hoops. And then after that, on the 16th, hosting Charlotte on Tuesday. So I think it was going to be cold that night too as well. But that game tips off inside Tudor Fieldhouse, happy to say. Tudor Fieldhouse has been repaired from the water damage. So Rice women tonight against Charlotte. Rice women Sunday afternoon against South Florida, and then Rice men Tuesday versus Charlotte. All 3 games taking place at Rice inside Tudor Fieldhouse. Bottom of the hour, you know what I do at the bottom of the hour. I introduce you to what BS3 TV is all about. The BS3 network, BS3 TV. BS3, we're changing the way you watch TV. So watch this clip, and we're back in 90 seconds. You are watching the Houston Roundball Review Takeover, powered by JM&E, streaming live on Roku via the BS3 network.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.
Welcome back to the Houston Roundball Review Takeover on the lunch break, powered by JM&E and also the BS3 network. If you have a Roku streaming device, just download BS3 TV. If you don't, you can just go to bs3network.com or bs3tvlive.com. I am, of course, KG Kris Gardner, owner of the Houston Roundball Review. Let's see. Rillo says, thank you for the comment here. Hopefully tomorrow is the day. I'm not getting my hopes up anymore if it happens. I'm assuming you're talking about the football coach that TSU has yet to name to replace Coach Clarence McKinney, his contract was not renewed. Oh, how can I say this nicely? TSU has really fumbled the ball. TSU administration, TSU Board of Regents has really fumbled the ball, the process regarding this new head coach, the interviews, the candidates. Initial reports that someone was getting the job, then other folks said, no, not so fast. That was in December, roughly right before Christmas, I think. No, not so fast. Now we're here, January 11th. Still no head coach. The early signing period, no head coach in place. So it's not a good look. TSU is being mocked in HBCU circles for how they've handled this, mishandled this situation. One of my colleagues who was at the CFP national championship game told me that some of our national friends hit him up. Man, what's going on with TSU? What are y'all doing? What are they doing over there at TSU? That's not a good look. Hopefully that gets resolved soon. And Thrillo said it, so I'm going to read it. This has not been a good look. The process was sabotaged. That's right. That's it in a nutshell. It has been. It is still being sabotaged. It's got to be resolved eventually. Some of us were joking about, look to the sky. You see what gray smoke up there over at TSU campus. What does it indicate? And who was Thrillo? I know TSU announced the hire of a new soccer coach. So that's a new coach, but that wasn't the head coach that everybody is waiting on for the announcement. Waiting on who the next football coach will be at Texas Southern University. It has been a long, drawn out process. You got favorites, you got people in charge, got their favorite candidate. Their favorite candidate may not be as qualified as other candidates, but they're going to hold on and keep pushing their candidate forward, trying to make other people blink. It's just I'm holding my tongue because I do know more than what I can say publicly, but it's oh my goodness gracious. But Alpin Shingun, Rockets shifting gears. Kyle did that. Shifting gears, NBA announced just minutes ago the second results of fan voting. Alp is now up to sixth in the front court votes for the All-Star game. He was named Player of the Week on Monday for his performances last week. Did not do well in the first half Wednesday against the Bulls, but he bounced back with a better half, much more aggressive half. I think he scored 25 points in the second half. Rockets still lost in overtime, 124-119 to Chicago. But the first half was not up to his standards. He's got to play better, be more aggressive and more active early and often for the Rockets to be successful and get these W's, especially on the road. Thrillo going back at it because Thrillo is a TSU alum, played football at TSU, so he knows as well what's going on over there. You have to let your AD do his job. Amen. Not to mention the lives involved. They put the lives on hold. The candidates, folks who thought they were getting this job, should they move? Some maybe have already moved in the process of moving. Oh, yeah, we're not announcing a hire yet. What? Some of y'all, you told me I had the job. Oh, well, yeah, no. About that. Oh, yeah, well, no. It's, no, I just, back at it. Back at it. Yes, back at it. Prairie View, men's and women's basketball are both winless in SWAC play. PV lost at Southern men 79-58 on Monday. Women lost even worse to Southern 84-56. They get a chance to right the ship this weekend on the Hill when they host Valley. Valley is one of the worst programs in men's and women's basketball. So PV has a very good chance to win the first game, women on Saturday, get their first win in SWAC play to go to 1-2. And then the men follow that up, be 1-2. Pine Bluff, Monday, MLK Day, 3 o'clock start on the Hill for the women, 5:30 start for the men on Monday, January 15th. HCU, both men's and women's teams are winless in Southland Conference play. Women host Northwestern State, on the road at State this evening, 6:30. Can be seen on ESPN Plus. Men this Saturday on the road at A&M Commerce at 1 o'clock on ESPN Plus. Women afterwards at 3:30 at Commerce. Both games on ESPN Plus. And then Monday, the men are at Northwestern State. Game can be seen 6:30 p.m. All those games can be seen on ESPN Plus. You see the record for the men. HCU men are 2-11 overall, 0-2 in SLC play. Women are 5-8 overall and 0-2 in SLC play. I'm going to let's see, in these final moments here on the takeover. Thrillo, Tony M, folks watching on Facebook, Musk, Fire TV, Roku. Rockets are 18-18. The Golden State Warriors are 17-20. Rockets currently have the 10th spot in the Western Conference. That's the last spot for the play-in. Rockets are 1.5 games ahead of the Warriors, half game ahead of Utah. So Jazz are 11, Warriors are 12. Reportedly, as of this morning, everybody who's not named Steph Curry is available to be traded from the Warriors. So Steph's not going anywhere, but everybody else on the Warriors roster, give them a call. Listen to them because they got mashed by the Pelicans. I think the Pelicans scored 140 on them and like 46, 47 points in the first quarter. So the Warriors defense is falling off a cliff. So what should the Warriors do? Or should the Rockets be proactive to stay ahead of those two teams, but also to stay in the play-in consideration? They're currently 10th. Lakers are also at 500. They won 2 in a row. Rockets have lost 2 in a row. Phoenix struggling also for Phoenix. The Suns are 19 and 18, so just one more win than the Rockets. Those three teams are roughly 3 games behind Dallas, who's in the 7th spot. The Pelicans are 4 games ahead of the Rockets. New Orleans is in the 6th spot. So should Rafael Stone make moves, make trades, make a trade, the trade, what have you, to improve their chances of being in the play-in, improve their chances to get to the 6th spot. I did not watch last night's loss in Chicago, but I heard Jae'Sean Tate did not start the third quarter. Jae'Sean Tate did not start in overtime. So Cam Whitmore played all 5 minutes in the overtime. The 5 Rockets in the extra 5 was Jabari Smith, Alperen Sengun, Jalen Green, Fred VanVleet, and Cam Whitmore. Cam's getting more run. Cam played almost 33 minutes, scored 16 points, 6 for 12 from the floor, 1 assist. So let me say this. Let me ask this. If you have not or did not see my Monday show, my Monday Let's Talk Houston Rockets show, I asked the viewers, it's a live stream show for Rocket fans to discuss the Rockets, their favorite team. How many assists does Cam Whitmore have this season? Monday, he had played a total of, 89 minutes or 160 minutes and 89 points, something like that. So he played more minutes last night, 33 minutes out of a possible 53 because the game went in overtime. So how many assists now? Like I said, Cam got 1 assist last night. Thrillo, how many assists does Cam Whitmore have this season? Counting his 1 that he got last night. How many assists does Rockets rookie, Mr. Bucket Getter, Cam Whitmore have this season for the Houston Rockets? And it might surprise you, honestly. Let's see. Cam has now played a total of 166 minutes. So 166. How many assists does Cam have in those 166 minutes? Tony knows the answer. He said assisting is the point guard job. He just says, thank you, sir. Thrillo says the Rockets need to make a trade. Don't know if any of the available Warriors are a good fit. All right, Thrillo, Tony. What could Jock Landale, Jay Sean Tate, who else? Obviously a pick or two. What could that get in return from the Warriors? that's, that's almost comical. I said that out loud, but it sounded good in my head. But what could that get in return? Jay Sean Tate, Jock Landale, Aaron Holiday, maybe. Oh, and the contract of VO, Victor Oladipo. What could that get from the Warriors? Thrillo says Cam letting that thing go. He will average 1 a game. Right now, he's not. Right now. Tony says, I think Stone should shop, but not necessarily to make the playoffs. you didn't like you didn't like that proposal of Jay Sean Tate, Jock Landale, Aaron Holiday, and some picks for something from the Warriors? Something? I don't either, but you got to call and put it out there. But Cam Whitmore has 4 assists this season. 4 assists. As Tony M says, assisting is the point guard's job. Cam's job is to score. And Cam Whitmore is a scorer. That's what he is. 16 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals in about 33 minutes Wednesday in the Rockets' overtime loss to the Chicago Bulls. Rockets are now 18-18. But yes, Cam Whitmore, Rockets at 29 assists. Jalen Green, 8 for 19 from the floor. 6 boards, 8 assists. Fred, 7 for 19. So Jalen and Fred combined to go 15 for 38. Yeah. But they did combine for 12 boards and 18 assists and only 4 turnovers. So that's not bad. Rillo telling me my trade proposal can't even get a signed Curry jersey back. Well, hey, it's up to Rafael to make the move, make the deal. I'm all for Detroit GM Troy Weaver trading for Jonathan Kuminga. Whoever, the Warriors, Alec Burks, Bogdanovich, Killian Hayes, whatever. Get Jonathan Kuminga in return to the Pistons so they can start getting the D back in Detroit rather than what they are right now is Detroit. And Rockets missed 8 free throws last night. They were 12 for 20. LP missed 5, 3 for 8. So that's 5 of the 8. That's not good, obviously. But yes, Rockets 500 record. Right now, they're 18-18. They will be above 500 Friday after Friday's win over the Detroit Pistons. And if you're wondering why am I saying Detroit, because they don't play D. These Pistons don't play D at all. So they're not the Detroit Pistons. They're the Detroit Pistons. Rockets should run all over the Pistons Friday. Weather permitting, because it's supposedly going to be real nasty tomorrow. Maybe blizzard-like conditions around Chicago, Milwaukee, Detroit tonight, tomorrow morning, tomorrow night, what have you. But hey, Rockets facing the Pistons. The Pistons are the NBA's get right team this season. So the Rockets get right Friday before facing the Celtics on Saturday. Hey, nothing wrong with that. Don't feel sorry for the Pistons. They made their bed. They got to lie in it. They got to fix their own mess. But if you have trade proposals, give them to me in these closing moments of this edition of the Houston Roundball Review Takeover, powered by JM&E. Recapping, Houston Cougars men's basketball lost Tuesday on the road to Iowa State by 4, 57-53. And that loss did not hurt the Cougars in the NTA net rankings because the Cougars are still ranked number 1 in the net. They're 14-1 overall, 1-1 in Big 12. Still ranked number 1 in the net. Kansas men fell to 16 after their surprising road loss to UCF Wednesday night, 65-60. UCF, a former member of the American, which Kansas fans mocked after Houston lost to Iowa State, and then KU went ahead and lost to UCF on Wednesday. Karma. Dylan Brooks, I think he's closer to a return from his oblique strain. Tari with the, let's see how it's listed because on the injury report, it's just the same thing. Left lower leg injury management. That's what it is. That's how the Rockets listed. Left lower leg injury management. Tari's going on almost 2 weeks now of no game action. So no specifics. Like with Dylan, it's an oblique strain. But the Rockets are treating Tari's injury like he's a hockey player. Left lower leg. Hockey's known for listing injuries as upper body injury. Nothing else, just upper body injury. So Tari Eason has a left lower leg injury out for injury management. There you go. All right. There you go on that one. Rockets will beat the Pistons Friday night. Rice Owls women's basketball in action Thursday night when they host Charlotte. I'll be there inside Tudor Fieldhouse. Left leg, I'm not, I'm not even sure. I want to say no, and that's why they're not giving us more details. But who knows? I need to follow up on that, and I'll message you when I get confirmation on it. Rice Owls men are in action Friday. Game can be seen on ESPNU. So college basketball is in full effect. Rice Owls men trying to get their first conference win on the road at South Florida Friday. Then they host Charlotte on Tuesday here in town. TSU men and women are in action this weekend, Saturday and Monday. First facing Arkansas Pine Bluff on Saturday, and then Mississippi Valley State on Monday. Both games, both double hitters can be seen or will be streamed on Texas Southern's TSU Athletics YouTube channel. And obviously, if you are a Houston Texans fan, you know the Texans host the Browns this Saturday, 3:30 p.m. kickoff. My man Adolphus A.D. Moore will have a post-game wrap-up of the show Saturday night on the AdMax Corner. You can watch that on the Houston Roundball Review YouTube channel. I'm not sure if it's been confirmed that our man, Willie Gibson, will be joining AD on the corner, but Willie covers the Browns. So you get perspective from both of them about the playoff matchup between the Texans and the Browns this Saturday on the corner after the Texans-Browns game starts at 3:30 p.m. Central. And in between, or right before it, will be the next edition of Let's Rage Coogs, when we recap the Houston Cougars men's game at TCU. Game starts at 5, should be over around 7:10. So Let's Rage Coogs will be on about 7:15. And then after our Let's Rage Coogs, the Admax Corner, we're going after that to discuss the Texans-Browns playoff game. All of that can be seen on the Houston Roundball Review YouTube channel. So subscribe to that channel. Click on the bell so you can receive notifications of the new shows, the new live stream shows. The Roundball Review has been approved. The Roundball Review Media Group has been approved already to cover and attend the Women's Final Four in April, as well as the NFL Big Game next month in February. So, reminder, if you want to advertise on this takeover show, the live stream shows like Let's Rage Coogs, Let's Talk Houston Rockets, Folks Talking Sports, simply email me, kgardner@thehrr.com. I launched new Houston Roundball Review caps. You can click on the shop button if you're watching the show on YouTube. Click on the shop button and buy you some Roundball Review caps. Of course, you can also buy Roundball Review mugs, hoodies, long sleeve shirts, short sleeve shirts, tank tops. Houston Roundball Review merch is available for you. Link posted on Linktree as /Houston Roundball Review. That's going to do it. Thank you to Thrillo. Thank you to Tony M. Thank you to everyone watching the show on Musk, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Fire TV, on Roku, courtesy of the BS3 Network. I am, of course, KG Kris Gardner, owner of the Houston Roundball Review. And if you're new to it, if you're new to this, I'm true to this. The Houston Roundball Review. Since 1994. Local name, global perspective. Y'all take care. Peace.
It's Sybil Wilkes with what you need to know. Today, it's Thursday, January 11th, 2024. Number 1, a decision could be released any day now from a 3-judge federal appeals panel regarding Donald Trump's claim of presidential immunity. Tuesday, Trump's legal team argued against an earlier ruling by Judge Tanya Chutkan that election interference charges could not be dismissed on the basis of presidential immunity. Legal analysts reported the judges seemed skeptical of the Trump team's case, asking, for example, how far immunity would go when it came to a President Trump ordering the assassination of a political rival by the U.S. military. Number 2, the U.S. Mint has unveiled 3 commemorative coins honoring the bicentennial of renowned abolitionist and human rights activist Harriet Tubman. Released as part of the Harriet Tubman commemorative coin program, these coins signify a pivotal moment in U.S. history, marking the first time a black woman is featured on U.S. currency. Number 3, weight is listed on every medical intake form. Doctors know your weight before you enter the room. That number can influence their assessments and recommendations. Discussing weight with your doctor can be uncomfortable, but necessary, and the way you do it matters. Patient coaching can improve patient-physician communication, and the What You Need to Know newsletter, along with our partners at Black Health Matters, discuss ways for you to talk to your physician about your weight. Number 4, Florida State Senator Jason Broder introduced a bill January 5th that would make it a case of defamation to accuse someone of racism, sexism, homophobia, or transphobia. The bill applies to statements made in print, television, or on social media. Defendants charged with defamation in cases of alleged homophobia or transphobia cannot use the plaintiff's religious or scientific beliefs as part of their defense and could be fined at least $35,000 if found guilty. Number 5, a Virginia lawmaker has taken the lead in a new legislative effort aimed at reforming interactions between law enforcement and individuals experiencing mental health crises. Virginia delegate Vivian Watts of Fairfax introduced House Bill 267, which would change state law to say that people in a mental health crisis cannot be charged with felony assault on a law enforcement officer if that officer is responding to a call for assistance for that emergency. The bill aims to define the parameters of a crisis while providing protection to both distressed individuals and officers. Here's your daily inspiration from Yogi's Jewels. A calm mind helps you to achieve inner peace. So be calm. Join me today live on YouTube and Facebook at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central with our mental health and wellness contributor, Aprilette Russell, as we discuss today's top headlines and more. I'm Sybil Wilkes. Be informed, be empowered.